Hare Krishna. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto number 3, chapter number 10, verses 22 to 26 today. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, text 22. Gaurajo Mahisha Krishna Sukaro Gavayoruruhu Vishapa Pashavasche Avirushtrascha Sattama. Gauhu, the cow, Ajaha, the goat, Mahishaha, buffalo, Krishnaha, a kind of stag, Sukaraha, hog, Gavayaha, a species of animal, Ruruhu, deer, Dvishapaha, having cloven hooves, Pashavaha, animals, Cha, also, Ime, all these, Avihi, lamb, Ushtraha, camel, Cha, and Sattama, O purest. Translation: O purest Vidura of the lower animals, the cow, goat, buffalo, Krishna stag, hog, Gavaya animal, deer, lamb, and camel all have cloven hooves. Text 23. Kharoshvoshvataro gauraha sharabhaschamari tatha ete chaikashapak shattaha shrunu pancha nakhan pashun. Translation: the horse, mule, ass, gaura, sharaba bison, and wild cow have all only one hoof. Now you may hear from me all about the animals who have 5 nails. Text 24. Shwasrigalo vriko vyagro marjara shasha sallakau Simha kapir gaja kurmo godhacha makaradayaha. The dog, jackal, tiger, fox, cat, rabbit, sajaru, lion, monkey, elephant, tortoise, alligator, goshapa, etc. all have 5 nails in their claws. They are known as panchanakhas, or animals having 5 nails. Kankagriddha bakasyena bhasa bhalluka barhinaha hamsasarasa chakrahva kakolukadaya khagaha. Translation: the heron, vulture, crane, hawk, bhasa, bhalluka, peacock, swan, sarasa, chakravaka, crow, owl, and others are the birds. The final verse for today, text 26. Arvakshrotastu navamaha kshattar eka vidho nrunam rajodhika karma para dukkhe cha sukhamaninaha. Word to word. Arvak, downwards, shrotaha, passage of food, tu, but, navamaha, the 9th, kshataha, o vidura, ekavidhaha, one species, nranam, of human beings, rajaha, the mode of passion, adhikaha, very prominent, karma paraha, interested in working, dukhe, in misery, cha, but, sukha, happiness, maninaha, thinking. The creation of human beings who are one species only, and who stock their eatables in the belly, is the 9th in the rotation. In the human race, the mode of passion is very prominent. Humans are always busy in the midst of miserable life, but they think themselves happy in all respects. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The human being is more passionate than animals, and thus the sex life of the human being is more irregular. The animals have their due time for sexual intercourse, but the human being has no regular time for such activities. The human being is endowed with a higher, advanced stage of consciousness for getting relief from existence of material miseries. But due to his ignorance, he thinks that His higher consciousness is meant for advancing in material comforts of life. But his intelligence is misused in animal propensities of eating, sleeping, defending, and mating instead of spiritual realization. By advancing in material comforts, the human being puts himself into a more miserable condition. But illusioned by the material energy, he always thinks himself happy, even while in the midst of misery. Such misery of human life is distinct from the natural, comfortable life enjoyed even by the animals. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Welcome to ISKCON Naperville's Srimad Bhagavatam morning classes. Today we are reading chapter 10 from Canto 3, text 22 to 26. It's a series of 5 verses. So in this section, we see this, so Vidura and Maitreya's conversation is happening. Vidura has questions and Maitreya is answering him how the Sarga and Visarga happens. So early on in the chapter, we heard about time. Then very briefly, we heard about, what does Vishnu do? And then we hear about what Brahma is doing. And in that, amongst that, we saw how with very first these plants were created. We heard how they are immovable. And in one sense, this nourishment goes upwards, right? And so that's what we are referred to in text 26. Now, what we are told is there are lower animals. There are 28 of them. And there is the series of animals that are given. Animals that have 2 hooves, animals that have 1 hoof, animals that have 5 nails. We hear about land-dwelling animals, aquatic animals, and then we hear about birds, again, land-dwelling, aquatic. Finally, we come to human species. And just few key things to start off. In the translation, it says that who stock their eatables in the belly, they are 9th in the rotation. The difference between the plant and the animal and human is that the nourishment goes from the root upwards, whereas for the human beings, it is going downwards, and now they are erect, right? So that is one thing that's spoken of here, that they are 9th in the rotation. Second thing that's spoken of is that there is human beings, their mode of passion is prominent, and how that leads to misery. We think ourselves as happy, but there is misery in it. So in the purport, the very first thing that's spoken of is that Prabhupada says human beings are more passionate than animals, and the sex life of human being is more irregular. Animals have their due time for sexual intercourse, but human beings has no time for such activities. So before going to this point, this sequence has been given, and one of the takeaways is that there is this evolution of consciousness. We hear of evolution in terms of biology, right? Darwin's evolution and the new forms of evolution that's coming about. But what we hear from Prabhupada is the spiritual evolution. The consciousness is getting evolved from these lower species, and now we have come to a human form of life. And how rare is that? In Chaitanya Charitamrita and Madhya Leela, I believe in text 138 or something, 138, we hear in this universe there are limitless living entities in 8.4 million species, and all are wandering within this universe. So many species, And here we are almost at the pinnacle of this evolution. How rare is that? So that's number one. But having attained this rare form, what do we do? So the analogy, we hear in Bhagavad Gita as well, this analogy of fire covered by smoke, mirror covered by dust, womb, an embryo covered by womb. That's the covering. So even though the soul is Satchitananda, as soon as the soul has this desire to turn away from Krishna, to enjoy separately from Krishna, we have this covering of subtle and gross bodies, which gives us this experience, or this notion that we are enjoying separately from him. And how much do we enjoy? That is dependent on this covering. So just like a womb that covers an embryo, plants, their consciousness is that much covered. We heard previously they have pain, but it's covered very deep inside. Then coming to the next analogy, the mirror and the dust. You can uncover the dust. You kind of have a sense of what that object is, but not yet, right? So we can kind of see animals are living, but it's not yet clear if they have souls or not. As we see from other philosophies around the world. I've been reading as part of my homeschooling. I read for third graders. We do Old Testament. So I just started it with my son, and we heard that how in Old Testament says God showed the angels. He removed this veil, and he told the angels, see these sleeping human souls. So there is this concept of human souls. So some people have this notion that animals don't have soul. And so we see that in this analogy of mirror covered by dust. Coming to this apex where smoke covers the fire. So we still have a sense, like, from warmth and from the light, we know that there is, behind the smoke, there is fire. So that is our human form of life, where we at least have a sense that there is life. We have these moral grounds based off of that, moral values and standards once you come to this human form of life. That is how rare we are. Having come to that life, what is our understanding? For us, right from plant all the way to demigods, all of that we see are individual souls, Satchitananda, having same qualities. Each one of us is in a different trajectory because of what body we have, but in essence, we are the same. And we're always in this pursuit of happiness. We hear things like, even like you see that, when you go out, even if it's a worm, as soon as you put something in front, it would try to avoid it and go away, because there is this tendency for that Satchitananda. And even though we have this human body, we have an ability to feel pleasure, there is always this greed to experience more pleasure. So, I was hearing that, and now I don't know who said this, but humans eat when we are not hungry. Humans mate when it is not season. Humans sleep when they are not tired, and things like that. So we are probably the only species that are going against the nature's order. Again, why do we do that? It is because we want to experience more pleasure out of this body, more than the body can offer us. And when that happens, when I have that extra gulab jamun after my meal, I'm left with indigestion. And so there is we experience a moment of pleasure, but at the end of it, we experience pain as well. So even though this body experiences pleasure, it experiences pain. And that is because we keep seeking more happiness than what the body can offer us. So that was one thing. That why do we keep doing it? Is why does Prabhupada say we're more passionate than animals? It is because we want to milk more and more than what the body can offer, leading us to misery. And the other point, something that I forgot to mention before, is that when we have this worldview that everything is personal, everything is individual. I am not at the center of this universe, right? Like we are not talking about this anthropocentric, I think that's what it's called. Human being is not at the center of the world. The earth is not the center of the creation. Everything is a person. And so I think with that worldview, we can see, we humanize everything, we personalize everything, we spiritualize everything. So that is a side benefit of, the Sambandha Gyan, that everything is Satchitananda. So that is one thing. And I was listening to Chaitanya Charan Prabhu, who talks about this. So I don't have much realization on that, but I can see what Prabhu is saying. Now, as a human being, we hear, in Mahabharata, we hear, right? Like, Ahara Nidra Bhayamaitunamscha Samanyametat Pashubhir Naranam. So, Ahara Nidra Bhayamaitunam. So, what is common between a human and an animal? These four things. We all eat, we all sleep, we procreate, and we defend. Dharmo hitesho adhiko vishesho dharme nahina pashubhir samanam. What makes us special is this inquiry into the absolute, as is often spoken of finding the purpose of our life, finding meaning to our presence in this universe. That dharma, not dharma as in religion, but dharma as in finding a meaning for our life, finding, as we say in our ISKCON parlance, like, who am I and why am I here? Finding that is dharma. And a human, so dharma vishesho adhiko vishesho. So when you inquire into who you are, into the absolute, that brings you to this platform of human being. Otherwise, we are in the same category as animals. We often hear, they eat, we eat. It's just more sophisticated. Human beings, we have all our pursuits of art and literature and sports and all the other things that we tend to do, science and technology, research, and sending, Chandrayaan or, all of those space missions. One may ask, isn't that differentiating us from an animal? Do we not have higher intelligence? Like, animals cannot do that. But then if we look at, yes, the outside of it, the form of it looks different. What is the essence of it? Why do we do that? And we often see, right? Like, we hear, the other day we went to a museum, we saw how microwaves were a byproduct of World War I, I think. How something else is a product of, where else did we see that? In the moon mission, like, these little baby packets that we see, the pouches of food, it was sent because it was a byproduct of space mission, because that's how food was sent into space. So all of these, the purpose still comes into this ahara, nidra, bhaya, and maituna. It still comes to that. There is no higher purpose to it. The outside, the form is different, but the purpose is not different. That purpose is what distinguishes us from animals. So this is where I want to, bring about this point that Prabhu was talking about. He was quoting a psychologist. I didn't catch the name, but this, according to psychologists, so even scientists have a sense that, yes, humans are animals, but then we are different from animals. And how are we different? So the psychologist is saying that there are four things that differentiates us. There is self-awareness, self-evaluation, self-visualization, and self-correction. Self-awareness, we are able to see, I have this thought, the thought is nice, or self-evaluation is where, the thought is good or the thought is not good, it is useless, it is useful. So that is self-evaluation. Animals don't have that capacity. Animals, if they are hungry, they go hunt and they eat. That's about it. There is no right or wrong about it. Self-visualization. Okay, so I have this thought, this is useful or this will take me far. And so I'm able to visualize, if I were to do this, then this is where it will take me. So this is self-visualization. I'm able to picture myself going ahead in life, or I'm able to picture myself the other way. Self-correction. So if I find something wrong, I'm able to correct that. And so I have the willpower to change. So all of these things, this ability to see ourselves, correct ourselves, picture ourselves in the future, all of this is what separates a human being from an animal. And therefore, we are at the pinnacle. And so therefore, we have dominion over these other creatures. But no, our Bhagavatam, our philosophy is telling us, you may have those abilities. It just indicates this consciousness that is a bit more freer than those lower creatures. And therefore, with that ability and with that higher intelligence, it behooves us to use that to understand, where am I? Self-awareness. Am I this body, or am I something beyond? Am I limited to to acting in these four realms of eating, sleeping, mating, and defending? Or am I for something else? Self-evaluation, right? So with this understanding, whatever I'm doing, is it taking me beyond this human experience? Self-visualization. How do I go to that place, to finding meaning in my life? How do I go beyond this human experience? Okay, I want to be a spiritually, I want my consciousness to be developed. These are the steps I can take, right? Association, reading books with devotees, chanting with them, serving the deity, serving the temple, serving the Vaishnavas. So we can with the same faculty that the modern psychologists are saying that differentiates us from animals, with those same faculties, we can actualize what is our purpose in our human life. So those were some key things. So we've spoken about, we've had a glimpse about the rarity of human birth, how we are at the apex, not of the food chain, but at the apex of this consciousness, evolving consciousness. Now that we find ourselves there, we have to reflect and see what differentiates my situation from anything else. And therefore, how can I go to the next step? So that's what I wanted to share. I wanted to pause and see if there are any reflections and corrections.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Thank you so much for such a nice class this morning. You speak really well. I really like when you give classes. I had a question, Mataji, regarding the fact that you shared that the animals, they are more disciplined than human beings, like in terms of their eating, sleeping, mating, defending. So how come a human being more evolved in all ways, in intelligence, in maturity, everything, how come a human being is acting on a level lower than an animal? Like how I want to understand, like how this tendency has been developed in the human being a superior being than animals.
So my understanding, one is up to the level of animals, they have to follow nature's laws. Once you're in that, there is a progression of their consciousness from one species, they go to the next species, and so on and so forth. So till the time they are there really is no execution of, they can't really execute their free will. And so they work according to nature's laws, the cycle that they are put in. It's almost like a conveyor belt. They go through that, they come out of it, and they go through the next conveyor belt, come out of it, things like that. Once we come to this human form of life is where we can execute our free will, use that free will. But what happens is that in that body, while we can execute our free will, there is always this tendency to find ananda in whatever we do. There is always, like I said, I think the primary reason is that why do I want to sleep 15 minutes? Why do I want to snooze the alarm? Is because I feel like, I can derive more happiness by sleeping that extra 10 minutes. Definitely one can choose better, but it is this tendency to find happiness in our current state of our being. It is like Prabhu was saying, it is to seek more from the world, and it is to seek more from the body than the body itself can offer. So that's what is my understanding, that they don't have that free will choice. We do. But even with that higher intelligence, we misuse our intelligence, we misuse our free will. And that intelligence can only be sharpened with scriptures. Until then, our intelligence isn't, it is going to be misused.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Very, very, very wonderful class always from you. Thank you. And regarding Devi Murthy's question just now posed, I would like to just read a couple of verses. That is from Brahma's prayers for creative energy, which is just part of Vidira Maitreya dialogue, verse number 8 and 9. Oh great actor. So here Lord Brahma is offering prayers to Krishna. Oh great actor, my Lord, all these poor creatures are constantly perplexed by hunger, thirst, severe cold, secretion and bile, attacked by coughing winter, blasting summer, rains and many other disturbing elements, and overwhelmed by strong sex urges and indefatigable anger. I take pity on them, and I am very much aggrieved for them. And text 9, oh my Lord, the material miseries are without factual existence for the soul. Yet, as long as the conditioned soul sees the body as meant for sense enjoyment, he cannot get out of the entanglement of material miseries, being influenced by your external energy. So, Lord Brahma's description of this human being, we are so created, and it requires, like Narada Muni says, it requires swimming against the current to go for self-realization. Because he says, once you go into that hole called family existence, there is no return. So it is so bad, our tendencies, as which are placed in us. I mean, which we are, somehow we are victim of all these, So I just want to remember those verses. That is Lord Brahma himself. I pity them, he says. And Lord Shiva also says it is very hard. This. In ISKCON, we may think, oh, it is so straightforward. We are heading there, evolving our consciousness and practicing sense control. But even Lord Shiva also says in his prayers, that is Rudra Gita, that it is a very difficult path for ordinary living entities to engage in this constant tapasya, self-realization. Anyway, that is my humble this thing. Thank you so much, Hare Krishna. Very nice class.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, Mataji. It's a very beautiful and nice reminder how, in spite of knowing and reading, how that pursuit is continuing. Milk more. I really like the way you have described. Devamurthy Mataji, I was just thinking of this example you might not have seen yet, as Sita and Balaram are young. So when the kids are young, so whatever the mother cooks and feeds, whether they like it or not, they're going to eat because that's all they have and that's what they can. And now that I have 2 teenagers, so in the morning I take all, efforts to cook and do whatever. And then after coming home, it's just staying like that. I'm like, what happened? Why didn't you guys eat? Because they have the freedom to make whatever. I didn't feel like eating, so they can actually make something else. So as they have more freedom and more choice, they actually expect, okay, why can't you make healthy choices and do that? That's exactly what we are talking. As more evolved consciousness, we are supposed to have more responsibility. That's what Prabhupada explains. But unfortunately, as Mataji is explaining, we want to, experiment and experience different things. So I just thought I'll bring that example, Mataji, more relate to the question. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. That was a wonderful example.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So wonderful class, Mataji, and then the responses are also wonderful. So thank you for such a nice class. I was thinking about a particular point you made about being centric. That actually started spinning in my head. If you start looking at it, the smallest of the smallest thing in creation, which is, let us say, for example, the electron, it has a spin on it and it thinks that is the center. The atom also spins and it thinks it is the center. And if you start looking at the planets or the stars, including Earth and the sun, they all spin around themselves and they still rotate around each other. And the sun itself not only spins, but it also rotates around the galaxy, so on and so forth. At any stage you can see there is a spin and there is going around. Each one believing I am the center, and that is why, I think the ego is also one such thing which has its own spin and thinks I am the center, So that's why that attitude of milking more and more. I want more, This is not enough, Recently I was watching a particular thing, like we have these rich people, some of these rich, people are like billions and billions of dollars. And there was a comparison that was being made showing how much the others have, and comparison how much the billion is, how much a trillion is. And it was mind-boggling. What do we do with so much wealth? Nobody carries anything with them, but we still accumulate and accumulate and accumulate, thinking, oh, we are going to enjoy, so example is Steve Jobs. He was having so much of money, but he could not save himself. He was having cancer. He knew he was going to die, and he had to go on diet. There was no milking. So I'll stop there, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And yeah, they may be doing their job and of milking, and we are also doing our capacity of milking this body. And Prabhupada calls it the soul killing civilization, right? Atmaha. Unless we come to that level of doing our duty, we don't rise above this Atmaha civilization. Okay, thank you all for a very engaging morning. Hare Krishna, Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah, Anantakoti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.